Welcome back, everyone. I'm Janice Leak from the Abundance Tree Podcast, and I'm accompanied by my co-host,
April Capri,
April
doing it
Capri,
again.
right? With all that good energy, April Capri. So, April, how's it going tonight?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to keep my afro from disappearing, but it's okay.
You cannot hide that hair, even when it's even you cannot hide any of that, girl. And look, I let
Right?
you talking. So let's talk about this rain today.
No, I know, right? It's all good, girl. We both looking beautiful, as always. It's all good.
That part. And the show must go on. So it's all
That's
good.
right. That's right. So I wanted to take a moment real quick to talk about our giveaway.
Yeah.
We had some people sign up for the drawing or to get entered into the drawing. So we did put out some instructions about that. And we have some people that have signed up and gotten their place into the drawing. And so be looking out for those reels to come out again because we won't be drawing until April 1st. So y'all get after it, get into the drawing so you can get that money, that $100. Just a way of us saying thank you for us helping us to reach the 100 subscribers. So
Absolutely. Thank you
yeah,
guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, send a screenshot to the Instagram. We still got a little bit time. We got about a week or so before April 1st. So go ahead and get that subscription in so you can win this money.
that's right. Get after it, y'all.
Definitely.
So who do we have tonight as a guest? Well, we have a
Oh,
great
wow.
person.
Total powerhouse. We have a dynamic force in the tech industry and a tireless advocate for women's advancement. By day, she leads the public sector professional services at Google, where she leverages her expertise to drive innovation and excellence. Beyond her corporate role, she is the founder of Intrapreneur School, a groundbreaking coaching agency aimed at empowering women in tech to achieve their career goals. Her passion for diversity and inclusion fuels her commitment to mentorship and empowerment, as evidenced by her book, Master, Build, Accelerate: How Women in Tech Can Get Promoted, Increase Their Income, and Become Leaders. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Join us as we look into her inspiring journey and her unwavering dedication to creating a more inclusive and equitable tech industry. Miss Adrienne Wilkins.
All right. Hey, Adrienne.
Yes.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming on
for
with us.
coming. You're a total
Yeah,
trailblazer, girl. Yes.
right. That's
I
awesome.
appreciate it.
So tell us about your journey wherever you want to start.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in tech. I never really thought anything special about it. It's kind of just a natural skill that I had. Like I was little and my mom said that I would like sit on the floor and take apart computers, which is super nerdy, but that's what I was doing as a kid and it just
Yeah.
kind of stuck with me. So I went to like a science and tech high school. My first job was actually at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in DC. And I went to college and majored in computer science. And while I was in college, I had the opportunity to intern at NASA, which was really cool. And I just was always into tech. And I've been at Google for 6 years now. And at Google, I was really fulfilled with the work that I'm doing. But like most people who work like a normal job, you still want to find something else like outside of work that gives you purpose, that gives you a little bit more freedom on top of what you're doing. And I tried a lot of different things, but nothing really stuck. But a couple years ago, I found that there was like a gap specifically in the tech space with helping women. So at Google, it's a really open culture and it's not uncommon for people to reach out to you that you don't know, that are new to the company, that just want to pick your brain, like mentoring and just understanding what you're working on and coaching. And a common theme that I kept hearing when I was doing those conversations with people that were reaching out to me was that they were so excited to be meeting with like a young woman of color that was in a leadership role because it's so rare, especially in the tech field where it's like male dominated. So then it kind of clicked for me. Okay, like you're looking for all these different paths outside of what you're doing at work to try to get more fulfillment and pursue entrepreneurship, but you actually have an opportunity to help women in tech to become leaders, to make more money, to boost their confidence. So that's when I started doing executive coaching for women in tech. So that's kind of how I got started, always on my natural path, but it didn't really click that that is the thing that I should be doing in work and outside of work until a couple years ago.
That's
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
dope. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That is cool. So I can imagine it working at Google. Were there mostly men around you at Google, or
Maybe
you
that
know,
was
Yes.
the place.
So
Yeah.
not just at Google, pretty
okay.
much my whole tech career, it has been mostly men. It's not uncommon for me to be like the only woman in the room. It's getting a lot better now. It's not
Wow.
uncommon for me to be like the only person of color in the room. I remember when I first joined Google, I was the only woman on the team. I was the youngest person on the team. I was the only person of color on the team. But
Just all
because
the
I had
things, huh?
gotten, yeah, I had gotten so used to that, doing internships and stuff where it was male dominated, that it didn't necessarily bother me. But the fact that women make up 51% of the population and they only make up like a quarter of the tech population, it's like it's not really balanced. So it's something that I've grown to get used to, and it is getting better, but it still needs to improve, I think.
Wow, that's
Gotcha.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
cool
so
that you like that, like as from a kid, and it just really just blossomed into something really great. I feel like this is like your path, literally.
Yeah, but I think what's crazy about it is that I didn't even realize that it was my path until recently. Like you would think that if you have had all these experiences that were in the same area and focused on the same thing, and it's something that you're naturally good at, it's not something that somebody had to like steer me towards, you would think that it would just click. Like, okay, this is what you should be doing no matter what. But it didn't really click for me until I sat and thought about the fact that we all are given gifts and talents. And too often we are trying to do things that we see other people are doing, or we're trying to follow trends or fads instead of actually using the talents that we were blessed with, basically. And it's when we use those talents and actually double down in those areas that you really start to see success. And when that clicked for me, it was like, okay, this is what I've been called to do. I've been doing it my whole life. I need to keep doing it, and I need to also do it for myself above and beyond what I'm doing just in my daily job.
oh, that's so great. It's so wonderful how when you're working at inside Google, and I know your bio mentioned becoming like an intrapreneur, where you
Yeah.
kind of, is that like you built like a kind of a side hustle while you're working there in the tech space, or
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yes.
people know that term.
Yes. So intrapreneurship is basically entrepreneurship within a company. So like when you think of a traditional entrepreneur, you have to come up with all the money, you have to come up with all the resources, you have to do everything. But with entrepreneurship, you get to leverage your company's resources to create a business within your business. And it's like a really unknown but highly valuable thing because you get to test out running a business without using your own money. So basically,
Wow.
when I was in Google, I got into the security space. So before I got to Google, I was actually working at the Central Intelligence Agency. So like I said, I've always been a nerd. So when I was in the Central Intelligence Agency, I got into like cybersecurity. And when I got to Google, they wanted to work more with the government, but they needed to understand how the government thought about security. And because I came from the government, I understood what they needed in order to work with the government. So I basically took that knowledge and I created a program within Google to serve the government through security. So I was given a team, they gave me a budget, I created like marketing materials. I created service offerings that were sold to government agencies. And I was really able to get a strong sense and a taste for what it would take to be an entrepreneur without using any of my own money, without using any of my own resources. I basically just used whatever Google gave me. And I've been able to leverage that insight and those practices and all the things that I do just at Google in order to replicate that in my own businesses outside of that. So that's
Right.
entrepreneurship. Everybody should do it.
Wow. I
Would that
would
work
recommend
outside of the
that.
tech?
Yes, I think so whether it's entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship, the big thing is making sure you're solving a problem for your customer. So once you identify who your niche audience is, who's the customer that you're going to serve, you should get really clear on what the pain point is. So for Google, in my case, their pain point was doing security for the government. Their customer was the government. That's a prime area to create a business, both internally and externally. But you could be doing something for teachers, and maybe your teachers are having an issue with doing their curriculums. And you used to be a teacher, so you can figure out how to make sure their curriculums are structured, and you can package that as an offering, and you can ask the principal or superintendent or whoever funds school stuff to pay for your teacher program. So I think pretty much in any organization and any job function, if you can identify an audience and you can identify a problem that you can solve, you can ask for funding and you can become an entrepreneur within that organization.
Wow.
Wow, that's so awesome. I know I'm in the education space. I'm actually a teacher at the moment. I know that if I were to pursue something like that, I kind of, well, I take that, but I kind of built up a program from scratch, um, coming years ago, about 6 years ago. So I'm not sure. I never thought of it as being an intrapreneur, though. I think that's the first time I've heard of that word. So that's very interesting. And I think that's so powerful that you're able to get that training in how to become like your own business within your 9 to 5. So that way you took that outside now, and now you're an entrepreneur. So are you still with Google, or you're just working your business full time now?
I'm still at Google. I
Oh,
love
okay.
Google. I love being able to solve really hard problems. As you can imagine, they get really hard problems. And also because my coaching audience also works at Google. So like I mentioned earlier, I coach women in tech. I work with women in tech every day. It's really important to me to be able to stay in touch with that audience to understand what their pain points are. I do a lot of like mentorship stuff at Google. So even from that respect, I leverage Google in order to sharpen my skills as a coach, in order to understand what people need help with, and to just be a better mentor for people.
That's so
Chaos.
dope. Like, I love that you gave it a title because like
Yeah,
unofficially, I feel like people in a lot of positions have been entrepreneurs unofficially, where you
yeah,
do all these jobs and you fill all these roles and all these shoes and you wear all these hats and you don't get any type of credit, or you don't like kind of formalize it or anything
Yep,
like that. So you're saying to be intentional with it and actually build it into something, and that's entrepreneurship basically.
exactly.
I love it.
I have an amazing mentor at Google, and she is the one that pushed me to that. She didn't call it that, but she pushed me to formalize the things that I was working on, because like you just mentioned, most people are doing a million jobs within their job. Most people are coming up with processes and systems and
mhm,
workflows, and they're not getting credit for it because it's
Yeah.
not formalized. But she pushed me to basically be like, you need to write up a pitch to your leadership. You need to do research. You need to tell them this is how much money you can make if you invest in this program. These are the things that I need. These are the people that I need. So I literally made a business plan internally and briefed it to my leadership, and they invested in it. And I think if more people just narrowed their focus and made formal requests for the work that they're doing in addition to their normal job, you can do entrepreneurship too. Most of us are doing it, if not all of us already.
Thanks, girl. Those are some gems. Look,
it
I'm
is.
got my notepad down here. Like, okay,
Yeah,
absolutely. 'Cause,
it is, because it does make sense with me being a teacher too, because I do the college career, and I just basically built that program from scratch about 6 years ago when the state started bringing more of that in, for our school, and not our small district, but yeah, it makes sense because I do wear a lot of hats, and the way my job is packaged, I can definitely make it more formal and approach my leadership. So will I do it? I'm not sure, but I can definitely see that. So well, it's very true. So it's so powerful though. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out
Um,
to your mentor for that. Amazing advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you as well for taking it and running with it. You know, like I'm glad you didn't get scared. Like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm glad you feel confident enough in yourself to just, go out there and do it.
I was scared, but
But
I
you
think
did it. You
one
did
of
it
the biggest
scared.
things, yeah, she always encourages me to do it scared. Like, do it anyway. Don't play small, play big. So I just did it. I was nervous, but I think that we should be intentional about betting on ourselves because you never know where it can lead you to. So when I first pitched this program and I first got the investment, I was just an individual contributor. I wasn't managing anybody. I was doing my normal job, and then I was doing this in addition to that. But because I was able to get this program funded and it was able to grow into like a multi-million-dollar program within Google, I was able to get a formal job leading that program. I was able to get people working under me to actually do the work to execute on that program. Like all of the career progression that I've seen since then has been a result of me pitching this program and getting it funded. And I didn't have to apply for any of the jobs that came after that because they came to me as a result of the program. So you can like take ownership of your career and carve out your own path if you actually bet on yourself and play big.
Wow, that is so powerful. You said it became a multi-million dollar like program. You said you created new jobs with it. Your focus is women. That's awesome. I mean, I just it's great.
Yeah,
So
we're
yeah,
all
this
smiles
is
over here. Like, you go,
yeah,
girl, you go.
it's awesome because I really never heard of that term. I'm like intrapreneur. I'm like that's awesome. Like people always we're always hearing like we're still in our 9 to 5. We're trying to get out, trying to beat the rat race or become our own boss, but through our own business, people starting businesses around us. But for you to actually go within your 9 to 5 to become an intrapreneur, that's awesome.
Yeah, because we
And
were calling ourselves workpreneurs.
right, we were. Yeah, April says that all the time. But do you mentor women like outside of the Google job too, or just within?
Yeah, so I, of course, mentor people within Google, but outside of Google, I created Entrepreneur School, which is what I've named it, to coach women in tech in order to become leaders, make more money, build their confidence. So I have like digital courses, I do one-on-one executive coaching. I recently wrote a book called Master, Build, Accelerate: How Women in Tech Can Become Leaders, Increase Their Income, and Get Promoted. That's available on Amazon. But yeah, I do coaching inside of Google and outside of Google. And even though my value proposition is, of course, for women in tech, because I am a woman in tech, I also coach men. I coach people who aren't in tech. I'm really willing to like work with anybody that just wants to get better and wants to either understand business or tech or mindset motivation. So yeah, I do it inside and outside of Google.
Love that.
Awesome. I love it.
I
I love
definitely
it.
love that. How was the transition from, I know you were doing like you said, the entrepreneurship within Google. When you finally decided to branch out, was it because, or can you talk about that? Like what made you want to do it just 100% on your own?
Yeah. So I think what really pushed me to want to create something outside of Google was the fact that every single woman that I talked to in Google said, I really value our relationship. I'm so lucky to be talking to you. I'm so lucky to be working with you because there just aren't enough women that are young that look like me that are in positions. And when I like did research outside of Google and I saw that women only make up a quarter of the tech community, even though we're 51% of the population. And I looked up some of the common things that women struggle with in terms of like matriculating through tech and becoming leaders in tech. And it's imposter syndrome, it's lack of confidence, it's not having support. And I really want to be like that support that women don't have in their roles because I know what it's like to be the only person that looks like you in a room. I know what it's like to be the only woman or the only Black person. So it is really important to me to help the people that are coming after me to give them that confidence, because a lot of the times people have imposter syndrome when they shouldn't. Like they're gauging themselves against somebody else's yardstick while not thinking about the successes that they've had. I actually recently met with one young woman, and she was feeling unconfident because she was new to the tech space, and her degree was like in business or something that wasn't tech related, and she had just gotten this role at a startup, and she just did not feel adequate compared to the people that she was working with. And I had to remind her that she was able to pivot from a non-tech role to get into a tech role at a startup working with people that were more senior than her. Like her skill set was able to get her there. And she was just overlooking the fact that she had all these accomplishments that got her to this position. And she was only thinking about the hurdle that was in front of her, the perceived hurdle of working with all these professionals. So sometimes it's just a mindset shift, and it brings me joy to be able to give somebody that nugget of wisdom and that motivation that they can actually do it. Like, you actually are equipped to do whatever you put your mind to. You actually are equipped to overcome any challenge that is in front of you, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be put in that position. So yeah.
So good. That is so good. I know I struggle with that a lot. Like, you know, it took me years. It really did. It took me a lot of years to get over imposter syndrome, in being feeling inadequate. You know, trying to say that, you know, comparing myself to other people that maybe are ahead of me. You know, but it took me years. I struggled with that for a long time, but for you to like help people along the way and kind of encourage them, that's huge, because I wish I had someone in my ear to kind of encourage me and to get my mindset right. It was only recently to where I kind of got myself in a room to where I started thinking, you know what, I'm enough. You know, I do have the skill set. You know, yeah. So that's so powerful that you're able to do that for these young ladies and people that you work with. So I commend you for that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I just want to like virtual hug you, like, oh my God, like I'm so happy that you're passing the torch from you know, like you have mentorship, and I'm so glad that you're doing it like on a, you know, you're spreading it out, and what do they call it? Like passing the torch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate you for doing that, because, you know, some people, when they get in the space, they want to like gatekeep, and you know, I don't want anybody to like be high, and it's really not about that. So I'm really happy that you are helping people identify their strengths, and like you said, like not have that imposter syndrome where they compare to other people, and you know, because somebody's always going to be better than you, somebody's
Mhm.
always going to be, you know, and it's really not about that. It's about you and your unique gift, and sometimes you can't see it for yourself. It takes an outside person to point it out, and that's just so like Janice was saying, it's so valuable, because I'm just now getting into a space. I'm in the insurance space, so also male dominated, not a lot of us kind of thing like that. I haven't been doing it for 50 years. So it, you know, it's kind of intimidating kind of going in that space. And you know, mentorship really helped me as well, just kind of identify, well, what am I good at, you know? And then just kind of grow from there. I love it.
Yeah. I think we all struggle with imposter syndrome at some level. I think especially women, just because we're naturally nurturing, which means that we kind of have to look around and sense how other people are feeling, what other people are doing just naturally. But it is extremely important to really understand what your strengths are. And one of the things that I do when I'm working with somebody, like the first thing that I have them do is to do an assessment to understand what their superpower is. So, like, there are 4 common traits of like your superpower strengths. You can be a dominant leader, a supportive leader, a relational leader, or a precise leader. And where I see most people get tripped up on is they're trying to be something that they're not. Like, they want to be the dominant person, or they want to be the really bubbly, extroverted person. And when I went through that process and I understood what my superpower was, which is the precise leader, I'm an introvert. I like to stay to myself. I like to do things in a structured, organized way. And when I'm able to work in that space, like there's nothing that I can't do. And when
Mm,
I'm stepping outside of that too often, it drains me because I'm trying to be something or someone that I'm not. And I'm in environments that don't make me feel comfortable. So I like to ground people on what their superpower is, what happens when they stray away from that for too long, because sometimes you have to step outside of yourself and that's fine. But when you're when you're doing it over a long period of time, it starts to drain your energy. So you want to make sure you're working in your neutral environment, your optimal space in terms of your mindset, and just leaning into your superpower as often as possible. So that's one of the things that I use to try to help people to understand what they should be doing and what rooms they should be doing it in.
Wow, that's so cool. I love how
Dang.
you say superpower. I don't think I've ever heard it mentioned that way in
Yeah.
that capacity. You find out what your superpower is, and so you're operating within the gifts that you are given, and that's so great, you know, and so that way they can stay within that. And I can see if they're are operating outside that. I can see how you said it would drain them because they're not really in the space they need to be in within like the role they need to be playing. So I guess
Yep.
it gives them more clarity that I say role that they're playing, but you know, within the business structure or the position they need to be in. But I could see that it can give them more clarity as far as what environments who like you said, you're an introvert, you know, I'm not sure. I think I can warm up to people, but I'm introverted at the beginning, but I think I can warm up to people. But that's so cool how you call it the superpower though. I think
I
that's
Yeah.
love it.
awesome. Yeah.
I think it's the pressure to conform too, like how we got to put on our interview voice and
Yep.
they're like, you know what I mean? You have to fit in whatever this cutout shape is that and sometimes, like you said, like it's self-perceived. Like I feel like I need to act like this to be considered
Yeah.
this or whatever. And that's not even really the case. I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on people to not be themselves and not really walk in their superpower and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it is draining, because I've been in spaces like that too. And I'm just like, I don't want to have to be three other people at work and have to come home and be totally different. Like it's extremely draining. So I love how you kind of help people connect that and still grow that as a skill and a monetizable skill at that. Like you're giving me
Yeah.
life and ideas and stuff, like for real, just
Mhm.
talking to you. So I know your mentorship is off the chain.
Yeah.
I
So being
appreciate that.
your superpower is being authentic. You're an authentic person. Your authentic self, right? You don't want to be anything else
Yeah.
but your authentic self. So that's awesome. That's your superpower.
I appreciate
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I see it a lot in the tech space in particular. Like I said, I work with anybody, but in the tech space in particular, I see a lot of women basically believing that they need to be more technical in order to advance in their careers. But I don't know if people know this. You can have any kind of job within Google. We have jobs for trainers, we have lawyers, we have people that sell stuff. Like you don't have to be an engineer to work at Google or to work at pretty much any tech company. Like there's a space for you. And if you're holding yourself against the bar of an engineer and that's not what you're best at, like maybe you're a really good program manager, you're not even going to be able to compete with the people who are naturally engineers anyway. So why not just try to really lean into what you are already good at? Like one of the examples that I use in my book is that if you had to go up against somebody that was doing public speaking and they were a phenomenal public speaker and you took a course to learn how to be a better public speaker, you probably wouldn't get picked over the person that is naturally a phenomenal public speaker because that's not your natural skill. You
Right.
are probably a really good writer if you aren't a really good speaker, and you should invest in sharpening that toolkit and not trying to take tools that don't belong to you, if that makes sense.
Woo,
And
it
there are
makes
a
I
lot of
love it.
people
drop the
get
I
mic
stuck.
love
on
it.
that one, because that's
Yeah.
me.
Stop
I
taking
could-
tools that don't belong to you. That's awesome. That's a
and
gem right
sharpen the
there.
ones you got.
That's
Sharpen the
it.
ones you have, yeah.
That's it.
Oh man, that was a
I
perfect
love it.
analogy. That's definitely me
Uh,
because I am not the public speaker type girl. I get all jittery and it's weird because I'm here, but it's just like it put me in an auditorium with a microphone. I'm gonna be looking crazy.
but I love how you said that because I mean it allows people to be themselves again, like we talked about earlier, being authentic, and it encourages people. Hey, I could be myself. I can use my gifts, my God-given gifts, and I
Yes.
could be great at what I know how to do. And it's awesome. You don't have to go outside of that and be uncomfortable. That's so powerful. You know.
I was gonna say I think the biggest thing, or maybe not the biggest thing, but a really big thing with that is for people to actually identify what their tool is.
Yep.
And I think so. Do you help people like that kind of are just like lost, and you can see it. You got a gift, sis. You have a real gift.
Yeah.
You got a gift. If you can point
Yeah.
that out and kind of see it in people, girl, God bless you.
I appreciate that. One of the assessment that I give people at the start of our coaching helps a lot. It's not just like a survey. You get a 19-page detailed breakdown of your personality and what level of extrovertedness you have, what level of organization you have, creativeness. You get to see like what your strength areas are, what are some of your limitations. And I will literally sit and talk through that 19-page report, page by page, and we're going to dissect every element of your personality so that you understand what areas you should be leaning into, what areas you probably need to pull back from, what things you need to tweak in order to have more balance and more productivity. So the assessment helps a ton. And then I use that in our one-on-one coaching sessions just to unpack challenges and roadblocks and obstacles. And 9 times out of 10, when people are going through that assessment with me and they're understanding their results, like they can clearly pick out instances where they were either operating outside of their superpower, they were trying to overextend themselves and be something that they're not, or they had an opportunity to leverage their superpower and they didn't take it. So it's really helpful in just helping people identify their blind spots and helping people understand how they can maximize their life, really, not just their careers or not just their entrepreneurship, how you can maximize the value and the output that you have in your life.
That is
Wow.
so good.
I
I
bet
love
all
that you
kind of
do
light
that.
bulbs be going off with people
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I
just all type
know.
of revelations and epiphanies and all type of stuff. Oh
Yeah,
my God, that's
that's
life
so cool.
changing.
That is,
Yeah.
especially that you take time, like that amount of time with people to really take a deep dive. I'm not sure if I've ever experienced any type of assessment that detailed. I know I give my students like career assessments and things like that nature, but nothing. I'm sure it's nothing that detailed. So that's awesome. I love that. So like April was saying, you get epiphanies about yourself and things you probably can uncover and didn't even know. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
all
Yeah.
type
awesome.
of connecting the dots with that.
Yeah, I started using it in my coaching after I took it myself, and it really helped me to focus my work both internally at Google and at the companies I was working with before, and just in my personal life. Like, because of how I am, because of how my superpower comes out, like, I need focused time to work. I have certain days where I'm meeting with people and I might have meetings all day and I feel really drained after that day because that's outside of my superpower, but that's something that I have to do. But I can't have my everyday structure like that. If my everyday structure like that is going to be chaotic, I'm not going to be any good to anybody. So being
Yeah.
able to understand that about myself and understand that I need focus time, like I literally have blocks on my work calendar that say focus time. If you try to schedule a meeting during that time, it's automatically going to decline because this is my working time and I need this time in order to be my best self. But until I didn't understand that before, and I was just taking meetings whenever, and I was not getting as much done as I needed to get done. And I think even personally, I carry that because I like to have a schedule. Don't ask me to do anything at the last minute. If you knew about it in advance, like we need to plan, we need to prepare for this because that's just how I work best. And understanding that it allows me to protect my space, protect my peace, and to be my most productive and balanced self. So it's super helpful.
I love that. Protect
Love
my peace. I
that.
love it. You
Yes. She
know,
said
I'm
that's
feeling
outside of
like
my superpower, not
I know,
today. I
girl, I'm
love
feeling like
that.
Wonder Woman right now. I'm like Wonder Woman right now talking to you.
Okay.
I know, right? We got
That is
superpowers we got to deal with.
sweet.
That's awesome. I
Where
love
can people
it.
find you at? Like what's the name of your business and how can people get to that survey?
Yeah, so intrapreneurschool.com. Intrapreneur is INTRAPRENEUR, school.com. My book is available there. My course is available there. My one-on-one coaching is available there. I'm also on LinkedIn at Adrienne Wilkins. You add me, I will accept. I'm not gonna not accept. I do a lot of career coaching on there, a lot of just motivational stuff there, of course, some work stuff too. And then on Instagram at Adrienne_Wilkins. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Y'all go out, reach out to Adrienne, follow Adrienne, and please connect with Adrienne. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, this girl, this is I'm just loving every bit of this, girl. I
Uh,
love, 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 love what you are doing. Oh my God, I can't
yeah,
say
I
that enough.
appreciate
that is
it.
so.
If you could, give an entrepreneur, just somebody in whatever space, it could be tech or any space, like
Mhm.
and just like getting the courage to kind of go out on their own, whether it's through a job or just like you said, 100% on their own, what would you tell them to do? Or what's your advice?
I think there are three things that people can do just in order to make sure you're establishing a sound business, no matter where it is, no matter what industry it's in. And the first thing is identifying who your audience is. So I think one of the things that gets people tripped up initially, myself included, is that we try to market to everybody. And when you're marketing to everybody, you're competing with everybody else that's in that space. So it's really important to identify a niche, pick out your corner of the market so that you know exactly who you're talking to. And even for me, like all my stuff says for women in tech. I am a woman in tech. I service women in tech. But like I said earlier, I will also coach men, and I do actively coach men. I coach people outside of tech, but my marketing is for women in tech. That's my corner of the market. The next thing that I would say is once you identify who your audience is, make sure you can clearly identify what their pain points are. So
Mm,
another area that people trip up in entrepreneurship is that we create things based on what we think makes sense or what we think is a good idea. And it probably is a good idea, but is it actually solving somebody's problem today? So you want to make sure that you're solving somebody's problem today, a problem that you know that you can solve, that you have experience solving. And then from there, once you know who your audience is, and once you are able to identify the problem that you're solving, make sure all of this is in a space where you have practical, hands-on experience. Because otherwise, people are going to go to somebody else that has more experience. So, like for me, I've literally been doing tech my entire life. I have decades of experience in it. I've been a woman my whole life. So, like the women in tech
Yeah,
thing, it just works, and I don't have to convince
awesome.
people to work with me because like I am a woman in tech. So those are the
absolutely.
So good.
three pieces of advice that I would give somebody who's trying to
That's
start a business.
It's
so good.
phenomenal. We're gonna
Yeah,
end really, really soon. I want to thank you so much, Adrienne. I encourage
yeah.
people to go to the description box, find your links, and connect with you. And you're definitely an expert in your space. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
so
having me. I
much.
really appreciate it. I love what you
Absolutely.
all are doing, and
Hopefully we can have you
I'm
back
really
soon for updates. So
Yeah,
awesome.
would love
Yeah.
to.
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, y'all, for watching.
Thank
Thanks
y'all.
again. Y'all have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.